One thing I want to ask, since we got on the college football topic, right? You're sitting here, Chaz, reliving all those memories about K-State and your Big 12 North titles and all that kind of stuff. They haven't announced who the divisions are going to be or if they're going to split into divisions when the CU goes back to the Big 12 next year. Vic, do you have any teams that you have to see them with?
Why does there have to be divisions?
Because there's too many teams.
No. Yeah.
There doesn't have to be.
But what's the point of having a division in college football? Because don't you want to play as many conference games with other teams as you? What's the point here?
Well,
what are we doing?
The point is that they want a championship game so they can make more money.
Well, they're going to have one regardless.
Yeah, you can have a championship game without divisions.
But
they don't have divisions now, and they have a championship. The best two teams play.
They're one of the first ones to do that. They also, I've heard people talking about pods where you have four teams that you play every year.
That's going to happen. So they're going to 20 teams. Period. Everybody is. I think the ACC is the next one to get plucked.
How soon?
Well, look, the ACC's got a TV deal that runs to 2036, and it's harder to break it than people are giving them credit for. Florida State and Clemson, and I would, if I was running it, I would take Georgia Tech because they're in Atlanta, and then another one, and take them to the SEC, and then the ACC crumbles. If I'm the Big 12, I go after the U, Pittsburgh, Louisville, and Virginia Tech, and then you've got the East Coast to essentially the Rockies, and you got 20 teams. And
you're still missing the big one.
Yeah, but Notre Dame is too smug, and they'll never get
missing
no
the big one.
And
they're going to go to the Big Ten.
Look,
nobody cares.
They're going to have to get into a conference eventually, maybe, or maybe you just have 10 independents, maybe Army, Navy, Air Force, and Notre Dame, and you guys can go play New Mexico State. That'll be a great rivalry for you. But I look at it like this:
11-0 every year.
Damn right, in the playoffs
and in the national championship
and the playoff,
game.
baby.
Right.
I'll tell you this: if they do go to 20, which I think they will pot it, and you'll have a situation where you play three teams every year.
So who are those three for you?
So I think one pod's going to be BYU, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. The other pod's going to be Colorado, Kansas State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. The other pod's going to be Iowa State, Cincinnati, West Virginia, and Houston maybe, or UCF.
No, they'll put all the Texas schools together if they do that.
Well,
right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
The Texas schools will pod, so you'll have TCU, Texas Tech, Houston, and Baylor. They'll pod it.
You know what, Matt, when the announcement was first made, and they said that CU was going to head to the Big 12, part of me was like, damn it, I wish they would have held out for the Big 10. But then when I took a step back, see, I can say I'm wrong.
Earn it.
I can say I'm wrong. At first, I was like, oh, damn it, they should have stopped. I like the move to the Big 12 because I like being a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And I think they'll be more competitive. They don't have to worry about competing against Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State. They don't have to worry about that. You're competing against Oklahoma State. Not to say that they're nothing, but it's a lot easier than Michigan and Ohio State.
If Oklahoma State and Kansas State can run the Big 12, even with Oklahoma and Texas in it, because the last 10 years, Oklahoma State and Kansas State have been to multiple Big 12 title games. Kansas State's the defending champion from last year. Oklahoma State was in it the year before against Baylor. Oklahoma and Texas, yes, they have dominated the Big 12 since they've been in it, but not recently. This is their last year in, and then they're gone. CU going in with the other teams from the Pac-12, again, I'm going to say this. With Oklahoma and Texas leaving, Colorado and Kansas State are tied for the most Big 12 title appearances.
That's amazing.
And we haven't been there 15 years.
Amazing.
So
it's remarkable.
I think they can go in and be a huge fish in a small pond.
Sure.
Rick. And then they can dominate that entire conference and be the big dog.
Before we proceed, I need to know, who is your college football team?
I don't have one. And that's part of what I love about it.
You gotta have one.
I grew up here watching McChesney and CU play CSU and Air Force be ranked in the top 10 and play Notre Dame down in Colorado Springs. And I just grew to love college football. My favorite thing is to sit down on a Saturday and get to pick which games I watch.
You don't
instead
have a
of
rooting
being
interest for
dialed
any team.
into one. I mean, I have teams I like more than others.
I mean, I watch all the games. I love college football. But
that's what I love about it.
That black and
Sure.
gold.
Yeah,
baby.
I
That's the only team
want to
want
ask
win.
Chaz a question about this because, last year, you remember when Air Force hosted CU and it was a bloodbath.
Oh, it was a
disaster for
destruction.
CU.
I never want to play them again, ever.
I was good. The question I posed to my boys a couple weeks ago is, if Air Force and CU played week 2 this year, week 2, you play the game anywhere you want. We don't know a thing about what Dion has up there. We know the skill positions are amazing. CU and Air Force.
Air Force.
Then you found CU. Who wins that game?
Air Force.
I said the same thing.
Bro, Air Force is
I
such
said
a
the
matchup
same
nightmare. Like, think about all the teams they played in the Pac-12 the last 5 years. They beat Washington State in a bowl game. They beat Louisville in a bowl game. They beat CU twice. I'm pretty sure every Power 5 team they played over the last 5 years, they beat. Like, the option is really hard to stop when you never play it. It's a one-off. You're like, hey, we got 3 days to get ready for Air Force, and Air Force is like,
right? Yeah, it's the Syracuse 2-3 zone, right?
And the Mountain West teams are better suited to play against it because they play against it every year. So you've got guys who played against the year before,
right,
and the year before, and the coaches know how to counter it and everything. So Boise State is better suited to play them rather than Washington State in a one-off in a bowl game.
Georgia Tech, for the longest time, ran the option. They're not a military academy, but they ran the option.
They actually did pretty good
exactly.
on it. Yeah.
When CU was winning national titles and contending, they were running an option.
Yep.
They were running an option. Why don't teams run it anymore?
They do. The zone read is option. It's just with receivers. Look, I think this year what you're going to see out of Coach Lewis's Kent State offense is every inch of the field is exploited. They're not just running routes. So you're going to see Shador run. You're going to see the stable of backs they have run. I wouldn't doubt if you see a lot of Wildcat. Like I was on the first team that ran Wildcat in the NFL in Miami with Ronnie and Ricky and
I remember that
Patrick Cobbs. Like that was fun.
Yeah.
And when you have McCaslin and Edwards and you have Cavassier Smoke, who's a monster, like Shador can just pick up his foot, run out to the slot receiver. Cavassier takes a snap, and you got 3 guys that can run the ball. So I know that people don't know a lot about them, but I do. I've been to practice. I'm obviously, pretty interwoven what they got going on up there. I've worked with a bunch of their linemen. Savion Washington's a pro. Christian, all 6'10" of them is a pro. I like what they're doing on the inside, rotating guys and trying to find the best 3. Their skill players, guys, are so good and so fast. And in college football, when you're always on a hash, people rarely talk about this. The hashes in college football and the NFL are so different. You're always on a corner in college football. You're always running to space, and that means people have got to tackle in space. And I'm telling you, college guys have a problem tackling skill athletes in space everywhere, and they're going to score a ton of points. We're probably going to give up a ton of points, but we're going to score a lot of points too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a Heisman candidate at the end of the year. Travis Hunter's special.